Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to go over the problems with the check engine light. So for regular car owners, you guys see a check engine light, which is the computer's way of telling the driver that there is something wrong, or there's a data that it received from one of the sensors that something is wrong or something is out of spec. But for mechanics, we like to call this the money light. So fixing your check engine light could either go in two ways. Either it's going to be fixed quickly and efficiently with very little money or just 1 hour of diagnostic time. And option two is what we call loading the parts cannon, which is basically we're gonna replace most of the common failure parts, hoping that the check engine will go away. Now the problem with check engine lights is the few techs that are qualified to diagnose it at any given shop. For example, the shop that I worked at, we only had two guys responsible for any diagnostics. So that's check engine light, ABS light, brake light, whatever it is. Obviously, any other apprentice could have a shot at the check engine light, but most of the time we'll be lost and we won't really know what to do. We'll kind of waste our time with it. Basically, what we'll do is put the scanner, read the code, and try to figure out a plan to how to attack it or how to test stuff. So that's why the apprentices didn't really touch check engine lights, because eventually you could get to the solution, but it would have taken a lot of time. And all that time is going to be passed down to the customer, which he will have to pay. So that's why they leave it to the more experienced techs to tackle a diagnostics or a check engine light. So shops will usually charge 1 hour of labor minimum to get started on your check engine light, which is basically just doing the minimum, which is scanning the car and retrieving the codes. And usually dealer techs that are responsible for diagnostics have seen these common problems often, and sometimes they can make a call quickly and efficiently because they've seen that problem before. So a 1 hour minimum diagnostic fee is what you'll be expected to pay to fix the check engine light. But obviously the shop could charge you a lot more, which is an hour and a half, 2 hours, even 3 hours of diagnostic time. And obviously only with your approval. That's why it's hard to sell to the customer more diagnostic time, because it's going to add up to the bill really quickly. And say the shop rate is at $150 an hour. So 3 hours, that would be $450 an hour, and that's only diagnostic. They haven't replaced any components yet, and this is where even experienced techs could get it wrong. If he's already in 3 hours deep into the diagnostics, most of the time the service advisor or the service manager will force the tech to make a call with whatever data he has collected, because they don't want to scare the customer when it comes to paying the bill. Because if he sees a 5, 6, or even a 7 hour diagnostic, he's going to go crazy. But sometimes that's what it takes for really complicated problems. So the tech is going to be forced to make a call, and that call could possibly be wrong. So if he changes a part and it doesn't fix the check engine light issue, then the customer will come back and he won't be pleased. Some shops will try to make it up to the customer by covering the next component, like covering the charge of the next component. So it's going to be the shop that pays that, and they will cover the cost until the check engine light is completely fixed, because that's what they initially promised to the customer. And some shops won't do that at all, so they'll just keep charging the customer more diagnostic time and more money for the new parts that have to be added to eventually fix the check engine light. And that's why mechanics get the reputation of being scammers, is mainly because an issue like that. So that's why I'm making this video, to hopefully help the car owners understand that these diagnostics can be really tricky at times, and we are forced to make a call if the diagnostic time exceeds 3 or 4 hours just to please the customer. And you got to keep in mind that these diagnostics take a lot of money because all the tools that are invested. So the shop needs to pay for a subscription to get all the wiring diagrams, usually Mitchell or ALLDATA. The Mitchell one, I know it's around 179, I believe, 179 USD per month. So that's one cost. So the tech has to have his scanner, his multimeter, and at sometimes lab scopes to properly diagnose any electrical issue without doing any guessing. And a good scanner and lab scope could cost up to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 depending on the brand. And not only does the tech have to have that, he also have to have all the training behind it and all the experience to confidently and accurately diagnose any electrical issue. So it is one of the hardest parts when working on a car, is electrical diagnostics, because you can't really see the flow of electricity and voltage and resistance and amperage and so on. All we see is a bunch of wires. So that's why it could get hard really quickly. So we all have these horror stories about going to the mechanic and them charging us a few $100s just for the check engine light at the end to not be fixed. So I ran into this with one of my customers. He had a 2015 Subaru Impreza, and he had a power steering issue where he couldn't turn the steering wheel left or right. It was really hard to turn, and it's the ones with the electronic power steering. So he had the power steering light on the dash. So I advised him to take it to the dealership because there was an open TSB for it, which they could have replaced the complete power steering rack for free if they found that there is some corrosion and that corrosion caused the power steering rack to be cracked. So he could have qualified for a brand new power steering rack, but he would have to meet all the criterias. So at the end, he did not meet all the criterias. He had to pay 1 hour and a half of diagnostic fee, which was around $258 Canadian dollars. And at the end, what they diagnosed is the power steering module to be bad. Now they quoted him $900 for a brand new OEM power steering module with $300 to $400, I don't remember, in programming. So the total bill would have been between $1,200 and $1,300 to fix that electrical issue. And most customers are not down for that. So he came back to see me with the diagnostic, and I told him to go to another shop and try to get a second opinion. And that's what he did. He went to another shop to pay for a second opinion. So he paid the diagnostic and the fix for $450. So he didn't have to pay the estimate of $1,300 if he went with a Subaru dealer. So the other mechanic, what he found is a broken wire going from the module to the power steering rack. So therefore it wasn't getting enough power to help turn the steering wheel. And that's all it was a broken wire. And I believe it was broken because of rodent damage. So some mice chewed on the wire, and that's all it was. All right, and that's good for him because he was able to fix it at a lower price for sure. But for him, the reputation of the Subaru dealership will forever be tarnished for him. Now he can't trust them anymore. So I understand his view as a customer. He doesn't like to be taken advantage of. And all it takes for a customer not to trust a dealership or a shop anymore is one wrong diagnostic. And that's enough for a lot of customers to say that they're not going to that shop or dealership anymore. But then again, we don't know the reason why the techs have called a power steering module to be replaced. And like I said earlier, the service advisor or the service manager might have forced the tech to make a call because they don't want to exceed more than 2 or 3 hours of diagnostic time. And that's why check engine lights, ABS lights, and any other electrical issue will always be a really big problem in the automotive industry. Even for someone like me with many years of experience, check engine lights are always tricky for me since I don't have access to wiring diagrams and I never really had experience at shops or dealerships to practice that skill of getting better at diagnosing electrical issues, because some shops won't really invest in their apprentices and try to make them take classes or courses on getting better in electrical diagnostics. They're going to see it as a waste of time. So all they would do is just pass it on to the more experienced techs to deal with it. And that's why the first, second, and third year apprentices never have a chance to actually diagnose a vehicle correctly when it comes to electrical issues. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys find it helpful. Hope you guys find it valuable. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe for more videos like these, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.